Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back coast to coast. And yes, I'm your host, Will Schofield. You will be putting up with my raspy voice for the remainder of the episode. Apology has been given. Please accept. I am here with my co-host, Oscar Allen. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Raspy is a very good definition of your throat. Want to talk us through that one?
It sounds like I've got COVID, and that's not a laughing matter, but I do not. Not a laughing matter. How did you laugh? I have copped a decent whack in the throat last night in the, what are we calling it? It's a scrimmage, in the Collingwood West Coast scrimmage game of non-AFL players.
The Josh Smith Cup?
Yes, the Josh Smith Cup, and I have woken up sounding like this.
Beautiful.
So what better way to kick off the morning than to have a podcast where all you use is your voice.
Perfect. And just a forward, sorry about the lack of podcast last week. Obviously,
Yes.
We were still in quarantine and we found it very tough to meet up for a time of which we could both film it. We're in separate groups at the moment, obviously Sculling being a back and me being a forward. So thank you for accepting our apologies for that as well.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird one last week. We've got these groups of 9 still going on, and we just couldn't line up where we could be in a room socially isolated from each other and record a podcast, which was disappointing. Had actually quite a bit of feedback on socials, and
Really?
You're raising your eyebrows. I got quite a bit of feedback. Where is Coast to Coast?
Well, that is great to hear. Thank you very much for those of you who were concerned about it.
Yes, Mum Schofield, Mum Allen. Thank you very much for your angry words
And their 5 burner accounts.
Now, we should probably touch on the Derby victory, number 10 in a row. How was it out there, mate? Can you remember that far back? You played quite well from memory.
Yeah, it was a good performance. They're a good young side, and I think when we look back to the game, that was probably the difference. We probably have a little bit more experience in our midfield, but they've got a good system and a good young team, and I think they'll contend to be in the back end of finals this year. From that probably later in the season, but it was a good team performance and something which we built upon this week.
It's kind of weird sometimes us being West Coast players talking about other teams, but I think just quickly touching on Freo, they've got a really defined brand already, which sometimes in young teams and new coaches and new systems, like I've been a part of those teams, it's difficult to define what you're doing and it's hard to see what you're working towards, but it's pretty clear what they're trying to do with the way they move the footy, with the way they defend. So, I mean, there's a lot of positives for Freo fans, which I'm sure there's lots of Freo fans listening to this, but I think it was challenging. We came out on top and we won, for use of a better word, easily in the end, but it was challenging.
Yeah, it was probably not the best game to watch from a viewer's perspective, but from a team perspective, it was one of those games which you had to grind out and work hard, and then in the end probably go to a game where it wasn't a big strenuous effort in the last 5 minutes, which is always nice to have the game sewed up with 5 to 10 to go.
It was your big forward line mentors, Josh Kennedy's 250th game in the Derby. We watched a little bit of a highlights video coming into the game. How was it playing in, what is a pretty big milestone for the big man? Yeah,
250s. I'm not sure. I think there's maybe 6 or 7 Eagles players that have played 250 games, so it's a huge honour. Obviously, he won the Glendenning Allen Medal, his 3rd, I believe. I believe he's 1 off the record.
Wow, who holds that?
I think it's Hayes.
Yeah, I would have said Hayes.
Yeah, I think Paul Haysby holds the record. But yeah, he was terrific, and he's found a really great patch of form, and footy goes in swings and roundabouts, and he's the best player in the world today. And I think it's just good to give people at home some clarity on how good of a footballer Josh Kennedy still is. Obviously, there's undue criticism on the guys who are at the top of the game, I say, because when he's at his best, he gets all the love, and when he's at his worst, he gets all the hate. So we all know how hard he works behind closed doors, so it was great to see him play to that high of a level.
Well, okay, so let's touch on that swings and roundabouts. Let's go with Josh first rather than you. I will touch on you and your form a little bit later, but Josh Kennedy, what's he been able to teach you? What's it like working with Josh? Can you give us an insider's view with working with him as a forward? Because I know what it's like to play on him as a backman, but how is he as a mentor in the forward line?
With those of you who have played footy, you'll understand that there's so many one-off scenarios which might happen once or twice a game. And being a young player, learning your craft, what we like to say, forward craft, you probably don't have that much chance to practice and work on these particular circumstances. So every week I'll come up to a different situation which I haven't before. And I always, after the game, Monday, Tuesday, we'll review my vision with him, and I'll just talk to him. What would he do in this situation? How will he position his body? And obviously, Josh is now coming to the later stages of his career and probably isn't as quick and athletic as he once was, but you still see him on the weekend. And obviously, with the panned camera angle, you see the ball kick to him and he's in 10 metres of space, and you think, well, how's he done that?
How does he do that?
And it's all about his change of footwork, his body work, holding his man out to the last possible second, and just being smarter than his opposition player, which is, don't mind saying, I'm not the quickest bloke going around. Obviously, I think I'm pretty athletic for my size, but I'm not a Jack Darling athlete where I can just run faster than everyone else on the field. So I take a lot of, I suppose, inspiration in the way he uses his body and his football smarts, because that's probably something which I want to put into my game in the coming years. How
much does it help you as a forward having Jack Darling and Josh Kennedy in the same forward line as you when you come down and you're probably matching up on the third best defender? How much does it help you personally? Yeah,
a lot. I mean, it's hard to state. Obviously, everyone that plays AFL footy is, let me just say, everyone that plays AFL footy is a very, very, very talented footballer.
But there's a best defender and there's a worst defender.
Absolutely.
Like, let's not. This isn't the Auskick rules that have come in of late where there's no winners and losers. We're playing professional football. There's a best defender and a worst defender.
Yeah.
Let's just say if you had to rank people, you could rank them.
Yeah. So there's a best. Every team has two really good key position defenders: the traditional centre, halfback, and fullback, and then the third tall hybrid player. So this is coming to the game. I'd classify myself as a hybrid player, but I can play key position. I think I've shown that, but it allows me to.
You're a key position that can play smaller. You're not the other way around. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're not a hybrid come key position. You are built as a key position player, and you can. Let's just clarify that.
Yeah, but the difference is I'm 194 centimetres and I play quite tall, and these hybrids are often that 188 to 190, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but that extra reach gives me a big opportunity, not only in the air, but defenders, when they're playing on me, they're a bit smaller, might get a little bit grabby. By that I mean might get a little bit nervous with a high ball and start grabbing onto me, and then I get quite a few free kicks from that every game. So that helps, and obviously the attention's always drawn towards them from the defensive perspective. So if a spare's coming back, they'll often drop in front of Josh, giving me a leading lane on the other side.
The difference being, you see, best examples would be some of the clubs that have come into the comp in the last, half decade or so. You got a lot of young players, a lot of good players. So Tom Lynch at Gold Coast was, a good player, but he was the best forward. No one to challenge him as being the best forward. So he would cop the best defender every week. Goes to Richmond. He's got a Jack Rewalt next to him, and, he goes from a very good player to superstar level very quickly. So it is beneficial as a forward, I think, to play in good teams and successful teams with good players. It's obvious, right?
Absolutely. Even with small defenders, it's a pick your poison type of thing. At Gold Coast, they probably didn't have the talent of small forwards, whereas Richmond, you've got your Dan Riolis, your Castagnas, Dion Pressu goes in the forward line. You've got a lot of talented smalls who the defenders can't sag off and go help their big keys, because then the smaller players will cut them to shreds. So playing in a talented forward line obviously will help you.
You are on Coast to Coast here, West Coast Eagles dedicated podcast with Will Schofield and Oscar Allen. Before we move off the Derby, which we kind of have already, but you know what? We do what we want. We're going back on it. What was it like doing the picture at the end of the Derby, socially isolated?
So awkward, and it is the worst Derby photo pictured of all time. The only highlight...
No, it could be the best. It could actually be the best.
The main highlight is, for those of you who have a phone out in front of you, look at the photo, try and find it, and look at Jake Waterman on the far right-hand side doing his best stouching face. Well, is that staunching face?
I don't know.
Yeah, staunch face. He does the staunch face after he kicks a goal, which is bizarre, because when I kick a goal, I'm just so happy, I'm smiling.
It's like that emoji with the air coming out the nostrils, right?
yeah, the bull emoji.
Yeah.
Look at me. But yeah, no, it was. I
didn't know that was going to happen, and I saw it on the back page of the paper and absolutely pissed myself off.
It was bizarre, and it was an awful photo, but also a terrific photo for that exact reason.
All right, so got the Derby done and dusted. You had quite a good game in that game, and we moved into Collingwood and preparation for Collingwood, which it's, over the last couple of years, it's always a big game against Collingwood, potentially the two biggest clubs in the AFL from a supporter base. Probably they own the East Coast, we own the West, and There's a lot of respect between each sides. Take away the grand final, I think the quality and talent on each team builds a platform. You have to respect them, and I think they respect us. So it was a big game coming into this weekend.
Yeah, it was. We knew that the game would rely upon, as most AFL games do, the contest, and obviously they're without a couple A-graders. Jeremy Howe's out for the rest of the season. Jordan DeGoey's out for a period of time. Still Sidebottom wasn't playing, and Pendlebury got drawn out late. So we knew we probably had an opportunity to get over the top of them in the contest. And as a midfield collective, I think it was the best game that we've had with all of our A-grade midfielders playing. Obviously, the last couple of weeks, Luke Shuey wasn't out there before the Derby. Obviously, didn't play in the Derby either. But this is probably our most collective effort with all of our midfielders combined.
How early did you know Scott Pendlebury was missing? Like, how, as a player, did you pick that up? And does it mean anything?
So, as the game was starting...
That's about as late as you'll ever see someone drop out of a game. I've seen that once, probably my whole career.
Yeah, it was bizarre. So, as the ball's about to be bounced, I'm standing in the goal square and I look up on the big screen, and normally it's got, like, Nick staunching ready to do his
Hashtag
jump.
staunch.
Hashtag staunch him. And I saw that Atu Bossum-Valinga, the best name in the AFL, pretty good pronunciation.
Yeah, pretty good.
Warming up in the rooms, and I was like, geez, that's a bit strange, and looked at the bench and there was 3 guys sitting there, and for half a second I thought, I wonder who's not playing. The ball went up and I completely forgot about it. And then halfway through the second quarter, I was back in the goal square with, I think it was Scharenberg, and I just looked at him and thought, geez, Pendlebury's been very, very quiet today. And I just went to him, Pendles isn't playing, is he? And he was like, nah, he's not. And he goes, is Gov not playing? And I was like, nah, he's not. And we both just went, that makes sense.
A couple of intellectuals down the goal square going at it, boys. Come on. Yeah, right. So do you talk much to your opponent?
Nah. I say g'day to him at the start of the game because I've got mutual friends. So I always say, hey, good luck today. But
good luck.
Good luck. Good luck playing me. I just say good luck and then get on with it. To be honest, guys that talk a lot of smack on the field, you're good at talking smack. I don't have the energy for it. I'm too busy focusing on getting good positions. I've got to be like getting good position, read the ball. I'm supposed to be in the ruck. Nick's on the bench, sprint up the ground. I don't have time to think in something witty and articulate to say to someone else. Hopefully the longer I play and deeper into my career I can start doing that. But right now I'm just focusing on playing footy.
It's definitely a string to add to your bow. I don't think many guys naturally come into the game as talkers. It comes with experience, and it also comes with you decreasing inability to play the game. So you need to find another way to be able to beat your opponent, and talking comes into it.
I also find that young players that are talkers, they lose a lot of respect from other players. I think there's a certain level of respect you need to have earned to be able to talk a lot of to other players on the field. That's just the way I see it. And I feel like there can be a perception of younger players that come in and start talking to your Pendleburys, your Dangerfields, your Fifes.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that.
You don't do that.
No.
Like, you got to be one of them to talk to them.
Yeah, but I'm not one of them. But I don't do it weekly.
No, you don't.
It's just when warranted. We've just beaten Collingwood. It's Monday morning for us. I'm not sure when you're listening, but I've copped a decent knock in the throat in the scrimmage against Collingwood. Boys performed quite well. Actually, Oscar, I know you came after the game. Very good of you. You saw a bit of the game.
Yep.
This is the non-AFL squad.
Yeah, came down and watched, and it was a really pleasing performance. Collingwood had a pretty talented side running around out there. Obviously, we did as well. And the boys, like you said, played really well. Midfield was strong all day, and we've got a lot of good players playing our scrimmage at the moment that can come into AFL level if required.
Yeah, I thought the mids were good. I thought the backs were good as always. And it's better than training for us. The week before we had to train, and you just don't get the competitive hit out. So it was great, and good of the Collingwood boys to make themselves available as well. I think they drove down from Joondalup.
Joondalup, as they like to call it.
Yes. So they got there. So win against Collingwood. We are pretty much into this new batch of rounds, this new fixture. What are they calling it? Footy Frenzy? No, Footy Festival of Footy?
Yeah, Festival of Footy.
What's happening? Tell us what's happening over the next 2-3 weeks.
So break it down. There's a game every day for the next 19 days. Wow. So basically every night there'll be a game on TV, which is great from the spectators' point of view. We've actually been blessed to a certain extent there was a lot of talk of 5 and 4 day breaks. The shortest break we have is a 6 day break, which we have this week, going into Geelong this Saturday night. After that, I believe we've got an 8 day break and then another 7 day break.
There's a bye in there somewhere, right?
Yeah, then a bye after the Geelong game, maybe actually.
Yeah, so it goes Geelong, bye, and then some normal breaks for us. But then they've got the second half of there's going to be another festival of footy, and there's no buys in there for us.
Yeah.
And I believe that's where we'll be getting smashed.
Yeah, I think we'll get, I'm not going to say shafted because everyone's working across it, but we'll get the shortest straw to say. But we've had it pretty good since we've been back. Very good, in fact. We've played prime time slots and it's been great to play. And just touching on it, the home crowd on the weekend,
yes.
Terrific. 25,000 were there and sounded like a lot more. Definitely helped us and we could feel them behind our back. So anyone listening that was there on the weekend, thank you very much. You guys were terrific and looking forward to having that kind of support for as long as we're here.
Is that why you blokes kick so well at goal?
I actually don't. That was a bizarre performance in front of goal because obviously as forwards and we do a lot of goal kicking, I've never seen us kick that well ever. Like we kicked 18 goals 3. Collingwood had 2 more inside 50s than us. And we won by 70 points. Like that is unheard of.
Yes. It was a good game and the boys, played our type of footy, but I think potentially it was a closer game than it was on the scoreboard.
Yeah. Well, also that inside 50s count, speaking after the game with some of the coaches, can be skewed because if it goes in and we kick a goal, then it just goes straight back to the middle, that we don't have a chance of repeat inside 50s. Whereas if Collingwood kick it in to 49 metres out, Tom Barras punches it to 53 metres out from goal and then it gets scurried back to 45 metres out. That's 2 inside 50s for the price of 1. Whereas if we're getting it in and kicking goals and connecting well, then obviously we're going to have less inside 50s, if that makes sense.
Yeah, about as clear as mud. People that have heard me speak over the numerous years on back chat and a little bit of coast to coast, I believe goal kicking is all luck. And the performance on the weekend totally proves my point. Because if you blokes were that skillful, right, that's your skill level. Do it every week. Why can't you do it every week?
Yeah.
Is it skill? You're trying to kick goals every week, right?
Yeah.
When you have a set shot, you're trying to kick the goal, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. And is your skill level alters from week to week, does it?
No. So
the most skillful goal kicking team, they don't exist, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you blokes would do that every week.
Yeah. I think you've got to have
I'm being a little bit antagonistic.
You've got to have a baseline. So I think you need to take at least 4 weeks or the whole season into it. I'd like to see where our accuracy is sitting. I dare say we'd be close to the top of the AFL for goal kicking accuracy. Obviously the weekend helped significantly. But JK in the last couple of weeks been kicking like 4 goals 4 in the Derby. 4 goals 5, I think. The week before he kicked 1-3. I kicked 1-3 the week before against can't even.
So did you become
Adelaide?
more skillful overnight? Did you get more skill at kicking at goal?
No, well, I think on the run goal kicking is all skill.
Oh yeah.
Whereas
set shots
is all mental. And we were strong in the mind.
I like that a lot. It was a good performance in front of goal from our forwards. Well done. And the festival of footy, back on that, I think it'll be good. I think I'm a big dream team player, as I know you are. My throat isn't going to last much longer, Oscar. Yeah, I think it'll be good for Dream Team. We'll be able to watch a game a night. It's going to throw the whole season up in the air because who knows who you're trading in and out every week. But I think from a perspective of what this season's become, I think it's difficult to play games as we always have. Like, you can't just bunch them over the weekend and expect people to tune in and watch and respect it as much as it has every other year because it's different. It's so different. So I think the different look, games week to week, day to day, it's going to feel like a bit more of like a summer carnival type thing, which I think is a good thing. It's how it should look. It should look different.
Yeah, I think we look at a lot of the other sporting leagues in the world, like the NBA, they all do something similar to this. Obviously, different games, different intensities, different lengths of the game. But I think, and all credit to the AFL and the AFL fixturing team, I think they've thought, right, if we want to try anything, this is the year to do it. So what I mean by that is maybe they thought for the last 5 years, wow, imagine if we could play a game every night, how good that would be for not only the viewers and the players, but just revenue share, more income, do everything. And they thought, stuff it. Everything else is up in the air. Why not give it a crack and see how it goes? And it might be a big hit And who knows, next year they might try and do something like this. I'm not sure how they'd do it, but maybe they will. Or maybe it will be a flop. We don't know. I seriously doubt it'll be a flop because it'll give people something to do throughout the week.
What are you doing on it? Like, what are you doing on a Tuesday night otherwise? Like, watch some reality show. You might as well watch the footy.
Yeah, I think it'll be good for the AFL. Obviously, people in Victoria are still in lockdown, and that's a huge football state, so they'll be sure to tune in. They've got nothing else to do, so it's good for the mental health of general people, I think, as well. It gives them something to do instead of sit at home and watch My Kitchen Rules. I don't know, something boring.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a success, but proof will be in the pudding. How do you think it'll be from a playing point of view? Just say we do start getting some 4 and 5 day breaks. How's that going to look from a physical point of view? You'll
definitely see the benefits of us being able to get scrimmage games in and practice games in, because there will definitely be some turnover of players playing. Obviously, some older guys might need breaks. Some younger guys might need breaks because their bodies aren't acclimated to the AFL week-to-week schedule, but I think you'll really show team system rather than talent. You find the best teams in the AFL can plug and place players in and still be successful, and I think that's something which we pride ourselves on. Yeah, I agree. You're going to need some depth this year to win it, and it brings it back on the question and the conversation around, winning the flag this year. Is it going to be tainted? Is it going to have an asterisk? I think it will have an asterisk, but it'll be all time whoever wins this year. It'll be talked about publicly. I know how it'll play out in social media. Anyone who hasn't won will be bagging the team that wins, but I guarantee you the team who wins, it'll be one of the greatest premierships of all time. And by the opposition players, which I think is where a lot of the due respect is, like, whoever wins, hopefully us, all credit to them. I'm not sure how have you been following the news, William, but there has been a change in the hub rulings. Players in hubs are now no longer allowed to go into each other's rooms. What effect do you think this will have on players in hubs? It's an interesting one. I did see that, Oscar. I'm always one to voice my opinion. Yes. In a measured way. So I am trying to be measured. I feel that's potentially a step too far. I'd like to see decisions for players, and especially those in hubs. Like, we're not in a hub anymore, so this is kind of irrelevant for us right now. As soon as I read that, I felt like that's too much. Yes, we want to be as safe as possible. Yes, we want to adhere to government guidelines. And I would think decisions should be being made from a medical point of view. I don't see how that's a medical decision. We still do train together. Guys in hubs are eating together every meal. They're in elevators. They get on a bus together. Stopping them from going to rooms is just a mental hindrance that's borderline like civil liberties type stuff. Like you're not allowed to leave your room, like not allowed to go to someone else's room. Yeah. I think potentially that's praying for, it's setting people up to fail, really. 100%. There's a lot of AFL protocols, and yes, we've had some stuff ups as a playing group, but that's as an AFL collective, and potentially in hindsight you'd like to take some of them back. But overall, I think it's been pretty good adherence to it because the protocols are sensible, they're health based, and you can understand them. But banning players from other players' rooms, it's interesting to say the least, Oscar. My throat did well to hold out just then. Yeah, I think what you'll find is instead of 3 or 4 guys going to, or 2 to 3 guys going to someone's room to hang out and just play cards or chat shop, you'll just have 44 blokes in the common games room together. So if your goal by doing this was to stop people from hanging out, well, it's going to do the opposite effect, and everyone will be hanging out as a whole. That's what I can see happening. Yeah, well, the other alternative, if everyone sits in their room by themselves and doesn't speak to anyone, and then you got other issues. And then everyone's got mental health issues, and then everyone wants to come home, and which is equally likely to happen. Enjoy playing the game. Enjoy playing the rest of the year with half teams not being able to cope. Mentally. And not wanting to be there because they're missing their kids they wanted to hang out with their mate for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Anyway. We'll see if that gets across the line because I think that was just speculation, but that's our take on it anyway. Yeah. Do you want to talk about the possible perspective of us going into a hub later in this season? Yeah, there's potential of that, isn't there? I mean, we've had it fixtured at up to round 16, so it's an 18 round season. 17. So 17 round season. Yeah. So
we've been fixtured up to round 15, and we've got 16 and 17 that's unfixtured.
Okay.
I believe after this lot of 4, there's another 4 games, and then there's 2 more rounds that are unfixtured. Potentially that means we leave WA. I mean, potentially it doesn't. I've been trying pretty hard not to speculate on what's going to happen, because things like what's happened to Victoria happen and you've got to change tact. But if it means we're going to go into another hub, well, that's what it means, I suppose. I think we will have learnt a lot from our first experience in the hub. Don't you agree? If we go back into one, we'd probably do a few things differently.
Yep. And like you, I'm not a huge one for speculation, but today is July 17th at 12:53.
July 27th.
July 27th at 12:53 p.m. and I'm going to make a bold prediction.
Okay, we like bold predictions. We love them.
The Eagles go into a hub in Tasmania, where North Melbourne are based, as at round 15, the conclusion of neither West Coast or Fremantle will have played North Melbourne. We will go into a hub in Tasmania and play North Melbourne, and I haven't figured out the other team yet, but I'm calling it now. We go to Tasmania for 2 weeks. Thoughts?
Have we played Hawthorn as Fremantle?
No, and neither is Fremantle.
There you go.
Bang.
Thoughts? Well, it's going to be hard because Tassie just locked their borders, so
perfect.
It's going to be on the difficult side of things, but that's why it's a bold prediction. Yeah. I think potentially we do play in another hub. Yep, and whether that be there's other games, there's finals as well. So our aim is to play finals, and if we did get there, then there's no guarantees that's going to be in WA at all.
Yeah, I think it also comes down to the border restrictions in WA, obviously, with no other teams still in Victoria. Perhaps we get the approval to play fly in, fly out footy, but that is still speculation, so we just have to wait and see what happens.
I think taking it week by week, the more scrimmage and games we can get against full squads, so where the seniors play Collingwood and then the Waffle boys get to play against the rest, that's a good outcome for us as a team.
I think this could be a moving guard. Another big prediction. Obviously, the AFL's had a huge
you've had 2 in one episode.
Obviously, The AFL's had a huge financial hit this year, but I think this will be the changing in the guard to potentially there being an Australian-wide reserves competition where if the Eagles senior side plays Collingwood at the MCG on a Saturday afternoon, the Eagles reserve side will play Collingwood at Saturday afternoon at Icon Park at 12 o'clock.
This is speculation I do like talking about because this is realistic. We don't know what's going to happen with COVID, but going forward, that would be great. A national reserve competition. One thing for that to happen is you'd have to increase staff.
Yep.
Our staff at the moment are getting smashed. For instance, our physios and trainers, they worked from about 10 o'clock yesterday morning on a Sunday, and they worked the whole AFL game. They drove straight to our scrimmage game. They packed up at about 10 o'clock at night.
And they were in here this morning at 8:30.
They're working 7-day weeks. They're working, because they've stripped back footy staff and staff at every club, the staff that are still on are doing everyone else's job. So for the National Reserves team to go ahead, you'd have to have more staff at each club, which would come with its issues given financial position of the AFL at the moment.
Yeah, I still think it's a couple of years away, but it is definitely not doable. Obviously, just to be able to test yourself against the best other AFL players. Obviously, list sizes will become an issue because if you have only 16 available, you can't have a competition where you're not playing 18 on 18, so there'd obviously have to be top-up players. I'm not sure. So obviously,
the list would have to get bigger.
There's barriers to work through. However, I'm going to say in the next 10 years, it will be done.
Yeah, that's probably generous. It should be closer than that.
5?
Yeah, 5. I mean, it is a compromised season. We had Collingwood blokes playing for us last night and getting around them and loving it because it's kind of a bit of like everyone's in it together a little bit and we feel sorry for them and vice versa. But I think you'd struggle to have that sort of attitude if it was a real season.
Yeah.
Get their worst player over and chuck them in the back pocket.
Yeah, normally after a game, if we've beaten Collingwood pretty convincingly, would be joking, be like, enjoy your flight home, lads, like, good on you boys. But now they're over here and they're away from their families. Like, there are a couple of blokes who I know from Collingwood, and after the game we're having a chat and they're like, oh, this is going to be the worst week ever. And I'm like, yeah, like, it's all right, mate. We were there. We were at the Gold Coast and we lost 3 games on the trot.
Yeah, there's a
And
bit of a connection there now, isn't there?
We're expected to win all of them. Like we know what it's like to go through a rough stint. Like tough it out, boys. You'll be up at Maroochydore in a couple of weeks enjoying the sunshine.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that is a change. There is a bit of that chat after games, isn't there?
Yeah.
A bit more of an understanding between the playing group.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. I've had enough. My throat's done. You can sign off coast to coast. Sign off, Oscar.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back with you next week. Cheers.
That was bland.